Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today we have a hypothetical matchup between Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who obviously, as of right now, is probably one of the top names of the Democratic parties for a 2020 nomination, versus, of course, Vice President Mike Pence. So before we get into this video, I just want to thank you guys for 10,000 subscribers. I'm definitely going to make a 10,000 subscriber special, but I'm not sure what to do yet. So if you have any ideas, just comment them down below. I'll probably put something in the comments and probably make a little video about it, just asking you guys what you guys would like to see. It's probably not going to be an election prediction. It may be an election night, like a full night coverage of maybe 2020 or 2018, which includes the House, Senate, and governor elections. Not so sure of it yet, but it probably won't be an election prediction because those can be done quickly compared to like election night videos or like possibly a Q&A, which takes a little bit more effort than just screen recording, because when you're doing election night, you have to make the theme, you have to make everything, and then with a Q&A video, you have to like edit it and compile everything. So I was thinking about doing something like that, or maybe a vlog, but I highly doubt a lot of you would want to watch that. But just comment down below what you guys would like to see, and I'll probably pick one of those ideas, considering that I'm not so good at doing those. A Q&A is what I did for my first 1,000 subscriber special, but it was mainly my face reveal. So now we're going to go into 10,000, which is like, that's amazing. But yeah, I'm extremely grateful, but I just want to talk more about that in another video, and we'll get right into this video. So Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, Vice President Mike Pence. This one will be really interesting. I believe Mike Pence is a better candidate than Donald Trump, but Bernie Sanders is also an amazing candidate. So we're going to see how the two would possibly match up against each other on a presidential level. So first of all, we're not going to factor in Donald Trump either resigning or being impeached, because that would definitely put this in the favor of the Democrats. So in this scenario, we're just going to do the two candidates against each other in the year 2020, assuming Mike Pence just takes over for Donald Trump in the presidential campaign. We're not going to factor in VP choices. That would take a little bit more time than just the two candidates. So we're going to go through this one pretty quickly. The result on the West Coast is probably something you'd expect. Actually, I want to take a different approach to it like I did my other video. So we're going to go through the poll closings. And this time I actually will include too close to call states. So Indiana goes to Mike Pence. Kentucky, South Carolina, pretty solid Republican states. Georgia, toss-up. Virginia, I see going to Bernie Sanders, just based off how it's voted in previous election years and midterm and off years. So 16 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders, 28 for Mike Pence. He would carry West Virginia. Probably North Carolina, Ohio would be two swing states. Now 49 electoral votes that are too close to call, 33 for Mike Pence, 16 for Bernie Sanders. So then we move over to the 8 p.m. poll closing times. Pretty much almost all of the Northeast comes in, with exception of a few states. Actually, no, just New York. And up in Maine, I think that Bernie Sanders would carry all of Maine. New Hampshire, I would consider a toss-up, and Pennsylvania a toss-up as well. Oops, I have my volume up. And Florida, I would consider a toss-up state as well. And then we go into 8:30, which gives Mike Pence Arkansas. And then pretty much Mike Pence would sweep up across the Midwest, with the exception of that one electoral vote in Nebraska. And Arizona, probably a toss-up. New Mexico, Colorado, probably Bernie Sanders type states. Michigan, I see going to Bernie Sanders. Wisconsin, toss-up. Minnesota, I also see going to Bernie Sanders. And New York, obviously, is landing in the Sanders column. So my reasoning behind Michigan and Minnesota are these are two states that have become a little more Democratic since the 2016 election. And considering that Donald Trump didn't even carry Minnesota, Mike Pence is probably not going to. And in Michigan, Mike Pence doesn't have the same Rust Belt businessman appeal. And I'm not a politician type appeal that Donald Trump did enough to win over the Rust Belt. Now we're moving to the 10 p.m. poll closing calls. Utah, Montana, two Pence states. Iowa, I see as a toss-up, and Nevada, I see going to Bernie Sanders. So that puts him at 168 electoral votes to Mike Pence's 156. So we're going to go into the 11 p.m. calls. So Idaho goes to Pence, Hawaii to Sanders. Sanders wins Washington and Oregon and California, putting him at 245 electoral votes. 13 more than what Hillary Clinton got in 2016, and then we go into the 1 a.m. calls, which is Alaska, giving Mike Pence 163 electoral votes. So now it narrows down to a couple swing states. So in this scenario, I think Mike Pence would do pretty well. I think he'll carry Ohio. I think he'll narrowly edge out Ohio. I also think Mike Pence will carry Georgia, and he will also carry Arizona. However, this is going to be a pretty interesting type map. I think Mike Pence, I don't think he has the same Rust Belt appeal as Donald Trump did. I see a state like Pennsylvania going to Bernie Sanders and Wisconsin going to Bernie Sanders. Along with that, I would also give New Hampshire to Bernie Sanders just based on the fact that he can definitely appeal to northern voters better than Mike Pence can. Over in Nebraska, I see Nebraska going to Bernie Sanders, and pretty much this gives Mike Pence 208 electoral votes to Bernie Sanders is 280. So my reasoning for the Rust Belt is pretty much, again, Mike Pence does not have the same appeal, and you need the same appeal in order to win here. This is predominantly Democratic area. Sure, it's trending a little bit more red, but that's comparing it to 2008 and 2012, where we had an African-American candidate on the Democratic ticket. Other than that, all three of these states have been toss-ups for decades. And in 2000, it was extremely close in a state like Wisconsin and even Oregon. And in 2004, again, these three Rust Belt states were close. And 2008 was just when we had an extremely unpopular president, and party fatigue was kicking in. And it was just the right time for the Democrats to hold on to the House, expand their lead in the Senate by crazy numbers, and pretty much win the presidency in a modern-day landslide. So 280 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders, 208 for Mike Pence. So you might be asking, where can Bernie Sanders expand his lead? So first of all, I think Mike Pence will carry North Carolina. I think that one would go to Mike Pence, but I think Bernie Sanders would carry the state of Florida. We've seen a lot of things come out of Florida recently, and I think the state of Florida is showing a little bit more Democratic tendencies, and especially with a whole new wave of immigrants coming in that are probably going to vote, considering their negative favorability of the president. We're starting to see a little bit more of a immigrant backlash against the president, and it's not like we haven't seen that before, but I think it's in larger numbers, and larger amounts of them are going to vote compared to what we saw in 2016, where almost everyone thought Hillary Clinton would win. So 309 electoral votes, for Bernie Sanders, 223 for Mike Pence. So it doesn't come down to the final state that I haven't called is the state of Iowa, and that's pretty much because I think this one is a pure toss-up. I think Bernie Sanders could narrowly edge out Mike Pence in this scenario. Iowa definitely has a number of rural voters, and Bernie Sanders did extremely well here for a candidate that was laughed at for running against an extremely popular at the time Democrat in the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton, former First Lady, former Senator from New York, former Secretary of State. Everything was in her favor, and he came within percentage points of beating her, actually less than a percentage point of beating her. And I think that just goes to show how a number of Iowa Democrats love him. The fact that he can definitely appeal to rural voters the same way Donald Trump did, and the same way Mike Pence would fail to do, just based off his policy. It's really hard to believe that Barack Obama was able to win in Iowa by near the same margin as Donald Trump did. And that's just crazy how 4 years apart, they drastically shifted away from each other. I think Bernie Sanders could bring Iowa back to the Democratic Party. Sure, it went to Trump by 9%, but if you use that same logic, you would have said, oh, Obama won here by 7%. There's no way Trump will win in Iowa. But yet he didn't even win the primary, it wasn't a caucus, but he didn't win the GOP, I'll just call it primary, in Iowa, and Ted Cruz did. And a lot of things didn't show a Trump victory. And if it's coming close for Trump in approval ratings, it's not going to do so well for Mike Pence. Mike Pence could not win the Rust Belt. He probably wouldn't carry Iowa. Ohio's a little bit of a stretch for him. But overall, I think it'll come down to 315 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders to 223 for Mike Pence. Thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to comment down what you guys think I should do for my 10,000 subscriber special. And I'll see you all tomorrow.